I'm not the jealous type. At least that's what I kept telling myself like a motivational quote printed on a mug. But the truth? You don't know what kind of man you are until you watch your wife light up like a Christmas tree in front of another guy. And not just any guy. Her ex. Yeah. Welcome to my Saturday. But before I get to the part where my dignity does the Olympic long jump, let me explain who we are. My wife Emily and I have been together for 7 years. Married for 4, dating for 3 before that. She's the kind of woman who walks into a room and people naturally gravitate toward her. Not because she's loud or dramatic, but because she has this warm, calm magnetism. Like a human playlist of soft acoustic songs. Me? I'm the guy who forgets where he put his keys while holding them. I'm not a disaster, but I hover somewhere in the comfortable zone between average husband and man who tries very hard. Our relationship has always been steady. Not too much drama, not too many surprises. Healthy, normal, comfortable, the type of marriage you describe as, we eat dinner together and watch shows we both pretend to enjoy. We have inside jokes, we have routines, we have that synchronized sigh when both of us get home from work and immediately hate every social commitment we ever agreed to. Sure, we've had rough weeks, who hasn't? But nothing that made me think, hey, maybe my wife is still emotionally attached to someone with better cheekbones. So that morning, heading to the wedding, I wasn't nervous, just tired, and mildly annoyed by the fact that Emily asked me 6 times if her dress was too much. No, babe, you look great, I kept saying. You're just saying that because you don't want to be late. Correct, I said. Honesty is important. In the car, she told me stories about the bride, childhood adventures, embarrassing moments, the usual nostalgia dump. She was excited, chatty, glowing with that pre-wedding social energy I personally don't possess unless I've had 3 coffees. Everything felt normal. We arrived at the venue, an elegant rustic place with candles and wooden decor designed to look casually magical, which is wedding speak for expensive. Emily immediately got swept into greetings, hugs, squeals, compliments about hair, dress, nails, life choices, the usual female greeting ritual. Meanwhile, I did what husbands do. Hold her bag, stand awkwardly, smile at strangers, nod at stories. I don't understand. Pretend I'm not thinking about the food. After a while, Emily came back to me, linking her arm through mine. You doing okay? She asked. Absolutely, I said. My social battery is at 9%. We're doing great. She laughed and kissed my cheek. A small thing, but it grounded me. Made me think, yeah, we're fine. We found our table, put our stuff down, and waited for the ceremony to start. She held my hand. I made a stupid joke about the ring bearer looking like he wanted to unionize, and she laughed that genuine laugh I loved. Everything, and I mean everything, felt absolutely normal. Even when she excused herself to go powder her nose, I didn't think twice. She left her phone with me. She smiled before walking away. There was no tension, no weird vibe, no suspicion. Just a regular married couple at a regular wedding. I went to the bar to get a drink. Whiskey for me, some sparkling girly thing for her. And that's when things shifted. Not dramatically, not instantly, but the air changed. I heard Emily's voice. Not right next to me. Somewhere behind, around the corner near the decorative archway. I wasn't trying to listen. But you know how your brain automatically tunes into familiar frequencies? Like how you can hear your name across a crowded room? Yeah. That. Emily was talking to her friend Jenna, and I heard Jenna say, in her overly excited whisper, "Don't look too fast, but someone is here. Table 3. Emily murmured, "Who?" Jenna giggled. "Just look." Slowly. There was a pause, a long one, and then Emily inhaled sharply. Jenna whispered, "Oh my God, Em, I knew you'd react like that." Emily's voice dropped to a softer, almost trembling tone. "Wow, I didn't think I'd ever see him again." My eyebrows rose. Who Who exactly qualified as him again? I leaned slightly, not enough to be suspicious, but enough to catch the next sentence. And that's when everything inside me froze. Emily said, "He still looks like the kind of man I'd follow without thinking." My heart hit pause, reality hit slow motion, and my drink order hit unnecessary. Jenna hissed, "Emily! Girl!" "What?" Emily fumbled. "I didn't mean I'm married. It just slipped out." "Yeah, well, your face says otherwise. I'm just surprised, okay? It's weird seeing him." Weird. Right. I stood there staring at a bottle of bourbon like it had all the answers. A man you'd follow without thinking? Excuse me? But I didn't turn around. I didn't confront her. I didn't do anything dramatic. I waited. Let the moment settle under my skin. Let the questions start growing little roots. By the time Emily returned to me with her "everything's totally normal" smile, I already felt something shifting. A quiet unease, a subtle tension, like the universe tapping me on the shoulder saying, "Bro, pay attention." We walked back toward our table. She talked about the decorations, asked if I liked the venue, told me a story about the bride's awkward cousin. All while her eyes kept flicking, subtly but consistently, toward table 3. I didn't know who was sitting there yet, but I was about to. The ceremony began. People cried. Vows were exchanged. The bride said, "I do." The groom said, "I absolutely do." Everyone clapped. Emily leaned on my shoulder. I wrapped an arm around her. For a moment, everything felt okay again. But the moment didn't last. When we moved to the reception hall, I finally saw him. The man at table 3. Tall, confident, stupidly handsome in a way that felt unnecessary, and familiar. Too familiar. Emily's breath caught for a split second. Jenna whispered something like, "Holy crap!" and Emily whispered something like, "Oh God." And that's when I knew. The man she'd follow without thinking wasn't a figure of speech. He was real. He was here, and he was walking toward us. He was walking straight toward us. Not fast, not slow, just confidently, like a guy who's about to ask a question he already knows the answer to. Emily froze the way people freeze when their past unexpectedly walks into the present wearing cologne and emotional significance. "Holy crap," Jenna whispered behind us. And I couldn't tell if she meant him or Emily's reaction. He finally reached our table, and up close, he looked even more annoyingly well-built. The kind of guy gym posters would hire to inspire people like me into doing push-ups. Emily's voice came out soft. Too soft. "Michael?" He smiled. Not the "hi, nice to see you" smile. The "oh wow, you" smile. "Hey, Em." Emily stood up so quickly her chair nearly committed suicide. "Oh my God, hey, wow, I didn't know you'd be here." Michael tilted his head slightly. "Well, my cousin is the groom. I thought it would be weird not to come." Emily laughed. A soft laugh, the kind of laugh that feels like it should have a background soundtrack and warm lighting. Meanwhile, I stood up too, mostly because sitting felt too much like watching my own downfall from a lower angle. "Hi," I said, extending my hand. "James." Michael shook it. "Michael," he said, giving me the kind of firm handshake that communicates, "I lift weights. Heavy ones." "What do you lift? Maybe emotions?" Emily quickly stepped in, her voice bright but nervous. "I didn't expect to run into you today. It's been forever." "Yeah," Michael nodded. "It really has." There was a pause, not an awkward one. Worse, a familiar one. The kind of silence two people have shared before. The kind that says, we know each other in ways other people don't. Emily broke it first. "So, how have you been? What have you been up to?" Michael shrugged. "Oh, you know, life, work, same stuff." Emily chuckled. "That's so you." I blinked. I had never heard her say that phrase before. "So you?" That felt like a recycled line from their past. A callback. An inside reference. Jenna, God bless her chaotic honesty, leaned in and whispered to me, "Okay, this is already getting spicy." Emily shot her a please die look. Michael pulled a seat closer. "Mind if I sit for a bit?" Emily hesitated only long enough to pretend she was thinking. "Yeah, sure." Wow. That was the fastest fake hesitation I'd ever seen. Michael sat, and Emily sat right next to him. Not exactly touching shoulders, but let's just say if she leaned 1 degree to the left, they'd have to share body heat. I sat on her other side like a forgotten accessory. They slipped into easy conversation, way too easy for two people who supposedly barely dated. She asked how his job was going, if he still had his apartment downtown, whether he still surfed on weekends. "How do you know all this?" I asked lightly. Emily froze for half a beat. "Oh, from a long time ago, before we got married. You know." "Right," I said, "from before." Michael smirked just a little, not at me, at her reaction, like he noticed the discomfort and found it nostalgic. Emily forced a laugh. "Anyway, things change, people grow." She laughed so hard she sounded like a malfunctioning cartoon character. Jenna coughed into her napkin to hide her grin. Dinner started arriving, and while I focused on not dying internally, Michael and Emily kept talking, and talking, and talking. At one point, Michael mentioned his dog. "So yeah, I still have Max. He's old now, but still acts like a puppy." Emily lit up. "Max? He's alive? Oh my God, he was the sweetest dog ever. Remember how he used to—" She stopped herself. Too late. Michael laughed. "You remember that?" Emily blushed, smiling in that shy way I hadn't seen in years. "I mean, yeah, some things stay in your mind." My fork paused halfway to my mouth like it was reconsidering its purpose. "Max?" I said slowly. "This the same Max you said used to, smell bad and shed too much?" She blinked 3 times fast. "Different Max?" she said quickly. Michael choked on his drink. "Oh, good," I said, "because you really had strong feelings about that Max." Emily shot me a "please stop existing" glare. Michael wiped his mouth, still grinning. Then came the laugh. Michael said something, not even funny, about getting stuck in traffic, and Emily burst into laughter so loud, 2 nearby tables turned to look. "I swear," she told him, touching his arm, "you always knew how to make me—" She caught herself, hard, mid-sentence, like she ran headfirst into a wall. Michael raised an eyebrow. Her smile dropped. She looked like someone who accidentally pressed reply all. I raised my hand politely. She was going to say, "Make me laugh, right?" I asked. Emily nodded stiffly. "Right. Laugh. That's what I meant." "Cool," I said, using the same tone people use when they discover a new tax. Michael looked down at his plate, hiding a smile that said too much. Emily looked like she wanted to evaporate. I looked like I desperately wanted a new universe. Then the DJ announced the slow dance. I turned to Emily. "Dance with me?" She sighed dramatically, as if I'd asked her to push a car uphill. "Oh, babe, my feet hurt. Maybe later." "Sure," I said. 10 minutes later, I looked at the dance floor. She was dancing, with Michael, her arms around his neck, his hands on her waist. Her smiling in a way that was definitely not "my feet hurt." Jenna appeared next to me, slowly sipping wine. "Oh boy," she whispered. "You're living a telenovela." I took her wine and drank it. Watching them slow dance did something strange to me. Not rage, not jealousy in the dramatic movie sense. It was quieter, heavier, like a cold hand slowly closing around my ribs. Emily wasn't just smiling. She was smiling in that way people smile when something inside them wakes up. And Michael held her like he knew exactly how she used to breathe during moments like that. I stood there gripping my drink, trying to remember the last time she'd looked at me that softly. When the music ended, she stepped away from him, brushing her hair back the way she always did when she was nervous. She saw me watching and made a small, tight smile. The kind of smile people use right before saying, "Hey, let's pretend that didn't happen." "We should probably head home soon," she said, grabbing her purse too quickly. "Sure," I replied, "before the next dance inspires any more nostalgia." She didn't laugh, not even a fake laugh. The car ride was suffocating. She stared out the window like she was in an indie film about heartbreak, and I kept my eyes on the road, trying not to crash into every emotion swirling in my chest. After 5 minutes of silent movie acting, she finally spoke. "Tonight was unexpected." "Oh yeah? Which part?" I asked. "The vows, the flowers, or the part where you became temporarily single on the dance floor?" She let out a long, annoyed sigh. "James, please don't start." "I'm not starting," I said. "I'm just summarizing." She fiddled with her bracelet. "Did you want me to be rude? Ignore him?" "I wanted you to remember you were married," I said evenly. She flinched a little at that. "I did." "You remembered after the music stopped." That shut her up for a few seconds. Finally she muttered, "It wasn't anything serious, okay?" It was just nostalgia. There it was again. That word, nostalgia, used like a magic eraser. "Nostalgia for what exactly?" I asked. "For the time when he lifted you off your feet, or just for the part where your arms were around each other?" She clenched her jaw. "You're exaggerating." "Am I?" "Because from where I stood, it looked pretty accurate." "You're twisting things." "Emily?" I said softly. I didn't even have to twist anything. The whole evening practically folded itself into a pretzel. She groaned and sank deeper into her seat. "I'm tired, James. I don't want to do this right now." "Then maybe don't slow dance with your past," I thought. But I didn't say it. I didn't trust my voice not to crack. We drove the rest of the way in silence, and it wasn't peaceful silence. It was the kind that comes right before storms, where even the air feels sharp. When we got home, she went straight to the bedroom without waiting for me. I locked up, hung my jacket, and stood in the hallway feeling like I'd stepped into someone else's life by mistake. When I walked into the bedroom, Emily was taking off her jewelry. She didn't look at me. She just stared into the mirror like the reflection might tell her what to say. "I don't want to fight," she said again. "Good," I replied. "Neither do I." "Then stop acting like this." "Like what?" "Like I did something terrible." I let out a breath. "You didn't do something terrible. You did something honest. That's what scares me." She froze at that. Her fingers paused on her necklace. For a moment, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt, recognition, something real. "James," she whispered, softer, "I would never cheat on you." I nodded. "I know. And I love you." I nodded again. "I know that too." "But?" she asked. "But tonight," I said quietly, "I think you remembered someone you loved differently." She looked down, didn't deny it, didn't argue, didn't even try. Just silence. She walked past me. "I'm going to shower." The bathroom door closed with a soft click, but it felt louder than a slam. I stayed in the bedroom for a few minutes, staring at the place where she had just stood. Then I walked to the living room, sat on the couch, and let the weight of the evening settle into every part of me. It wasn't anger. Anger would have been easier. It was a quiet hurt, the kind that creeps in and sits beside you without asking. Around 2 a.m., Emily finally came out of the bathroom and slipped into bed without a word. I stayed on the couch for a while longer, thinking about her laugh, her blush, the way she leaned toward him like her body remembered something before her mind did. Eventually, I walked to the bedroom. Emily was asleep, curled up on her side, peaceful in a way that made me feel strangely disconnected from her. I stood there for a moment, just watching her breathe. She looked like the same woman I married, yet suddenly she felt miles away. I whispered, barely audible, "We're talking tomorrow." Not aggressive, not threatening, not dramatic, just a promise to myself more than to her. She murmured something in her sleep and pulled the blanket closer. I lay down on my side of the bed, leaving a space between us that felt wider than it ever had before. I woke up before she did, not because I wanted to, but because my brain apparently decided sleep was optional after watching my wife reenact the Notebook dance scene with another man. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying the entire evening like a very depressing movie marathon. Emily was still asleep, curled up on her side facing away from me. Normally I'd roll over and pull her closer, or at least touch her shoulder. But now, even her hair on the pillow felt like an emotional minefield. Eventually she shifted, let out a soft groan, and turned toward me. Her eyes opened just a little, and for a split second she looked peaceful, until she saw I was awake and definitely not smiling. "Oh," she mumbled. "You're up." "Yeah," I said. "Been up." She rubbed her eyes, then stretched like a cat trying to erase all its problems. "How'd you sleep?" "I didn't," I answered honestly. She stopped stretching halfway, arms still in the air. "Oh." Long silence. She sat up, brushing her hair back unnecessarily. "Do you want coffee?" "Sure." She stood up from the bed, but the vibe between us moved with her, heavy, unspoken. In the kitchen, she moved around quietly. Too quietly, like someone sneaking in their own home. I sat at the table watching her act normal while absolutely not being normal. She placed a mug in front of me. "Here you go." "Thanks." She sat across from me, staring at her own untouched coffee. We didn't speak. We just existed near each other. Finally, she broke the silence. "So, last night." "Yeah," I said. "It happened. I didn't mean for it to be weird." "It was weird," I said. She flinched again, small but noticeable. "I just reacted. It was emotional memory. It wasn't intentional." "Right," I said. "You accidentally slow danced chest to chest with a guy you apparently once trusted with major life decisions." She sighed loudly and put her head in her hands. "James, please." "What?" I asked. "Do you want me to pretend I didn't see what I saw?" "No." She lifted her head. "I want you to understand I wasn't trying to hurt you." "I know you weren't trying," I said. "That's the part that bothers me." She stared at me, confused. "If you wanted to hurt me," I continued, "I could at least say you were being cruel on purpose. But last night wasn't malicious. It was natural." She swallowed hard. "James, you're making it sound worse." "I'm describing it how it looked." "I didn't do anything." She raised her voice, then quickly lowered it. "Nothing happened." "Something happened," I said calmly. "Something doesn't have to be physical to be something." She looked like she wanted to argue but didn't know how. "I wouldn't cheat on you," she whispered. "I know," I said. "But would you think about it?" Her eyes darted toward the table, then away from it, then back to me. That hesitation was all I needed. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I don't know what you want me to say." "The truth," I said simply. She slumped back in her chair. "This is so stupid," she muttered. "Stupid would be if I pretended everything was fine." She rolled her eyes slightly, a defensive reflex. "This is being blown out of proportion. Emily, you called him the kind of man you'd follow without thinking." Her entire face froze, a full system reboot. Her voice came out quiet. "You heard that?" "Yep," I said, clear as day. Her hands dropped to the table. "Oh God." We just stared at each other, one of us processing, the other realizing they'd been caught by reality. She whispered, I didn't mean it." "You meant it in the moment," I corrected. "And that's the part that matters." She didn't argue. Not this time. Instead, she stood up abruptly. I need to take a minute." She walked to the living room, pacing slowly, rubbing her hands together like she was trying to warm herself from a cold memory. I followed, leaning against the doorframe. "You still have feelings for him?" I said quietly. She stopped pacing. Her back turned to me. Emily? She slowly turned around, and I've never seen someone's face look so torn between two answers. I don't know, she whispered. And the honesty of that scared me more than any yes or no. We both stayed still, just looking at each other from different continents of the same room. Finally, she walked past me toward the hallway. I need some air, she said. She grabbed her keys and slipped outside before I could respond. I didn't chase her, didn't yell, didn't try to fix anything. I just sat down on the couch and let the truth settle. My wife had to step outside, not because she was angry, but because she was overwhelmed with feelings she hadn't prepared to face. And none of them were about me. Emily stayed outside for almost 20 minutes. Not 5, not a quick breath of air. 20 full minutes. Long enough for the neighbors to start wondering if she was rehearsing a breakup monologue. I sat on the couch watching the front door like it owed me money. I didn't chase after her. If someone needs air, the worst thing you can do is run after them waving an emotional inhaler. When the door finally opened, she stepped inside quietly, too quietly, like someone returning to a house they weren't entirely sure they still lived in. She stood there for a moment, hand still on the doorknob, like letting go of it meant committing to the next part of the story. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," I answered. She walked over and sat on the opposite end of the couch. Not next to me, not even halfway. She picked the far edge like we were two strangers sharing a bench at a bus stop. She fiddled with her hands for a moment before speaking. "Look, I know yesterday looked bad." "Looked bad?" I raised an eyebrow. "Emily, it didn't look anything. It was bad." She winced. "I just reacted. I wasn't thinking straight." "Right," I nodded. "That's kind of what scares me, the not thinking part." She drew in a slow breath. "James, please don't make this bigger." "It's already big," I said calmly. "You just don't want to look at it." She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "I didn't plan any of it. I didn't even know he'd be there." "I know," I said. "If you had planned it, that would almost make this easier." She looked genuinely confused. "How is that easier?" "Because then it would be intentional," I said. "What happened last night was natural." Her face changed. Not angry, scared maybe. Scared that I hit the truth she didn't want spoken out loud. "James," she whispered. "That's not fair." "It's honest." She shook her head, rubbing her forehead like she was trying to massage the memory away. "He's just someone from my past. He's not important." "You sure made him look important," I said, with a soft, tired laugh. "Emily, you don't smile like that with me anymore." "That's not true." "Then when?" I asked. "Tell me the last time you looked at me like that, with that kind of spark." She looked down, stared at her hands. Her silence was an answer wrapped in guilt. After a moment she whispered, "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I know," I said, "but you did. And not because you danced with him, but because I saw something in you I haven't seen in a long time." She swallowed hard. "I just got overwhelmed." "With what?" I asked gently. More silence. Then she whispered something so quiet I almost missed it. "Everything." I leaned back. "You still have unresolved feelings for him." It wasn't a question. She flinched. "James, I don't know how to explain it." "You don't need to explain it, just be honest." She lifted her eyes to mine, and I swear I saw every conflicting thought swirling inside her. "I don't love him," she said. "Not like that. Not anymore." "But there's something," I said. "Isn't there?" She hesitated. 1 second, 2, 3. "I don't know," she whispered. That was the moment. The exact second I felt something quietly shift inside me. The kind of shift you don't fix with a single conversation. She put her face in her hands. "This is a mess," she said. "I didn't want any of this to happen." "Neither did I replied. but here we are. She looked up again, eyes slightly red. What do we do now? I let out a slow breath. I don't know yet, but pretending nothing happened isn't one of the options. She nodded weakly. I just need time to think. Time, of course. Okay, I said softly. You can think. She looked relieved for a second, until I added, and while you think, I'm going to figure out what I need too. That surprised her. She wasn't expecting me to need anything. She wasn't expecting me to step out of the understanding husband role. And for the first time all morning she looked scared. James, she whispered, please, don't walk away from me. I'm not, I said. But I'm also not going to stand still if you're facing the wrong direction. She didn't answer. She just stared at me with this mixture of confusion and regret, like she didn't expect to lose anything last night, but suddenly realized something important was slipping. We stayed like that for a while. Two people in the same room, but worlds apart. Eventually, she stood up. I'm gonna take a shower, she said quietly. Okay. She disappeared down the hallway, and I sat there staring at the spot she'd been sitting. The truth hung in the room like smoke. She didn't know what she felt, and I was finally starting to realize what I felt. I stayed on the couch long after Emily walked down the hallway. The sound of the shower started a minute later. Steady, controlled, almost too calm for the storm we'd had. I stared at the wall in front of me and felt something click into place. Not anger, not revenge, just a decision. A very quiet, very solid decision. I stood up and walked into the bedroom. The half-opened suitcase in our closet felt like it had been waiting for me for years. I pulled it out, placed it on the bed, and opened it with a slow, steady motion. Not hiding, not sneaking, not rushing, just doing what had to be done. I folded clothes with the same calm you'd use when packing for a business trip. Shirt, pants, socks, nothing dramatic. Every movement felt strangely easy, like my body already knew the choreography. The shower was still running. The sound made everything more real. By the time the water turned off, my suitcase was nearly full. I zipped it halfway and sat on the edge of the bed, waiting. Not to argue, not to explain, just waiting for the moment that had to come. A few minutes later, the bathroom door opened and Emily walked back into the bedroom wrapped in a towel, still drying her hair. She froze the second she saw the open suitcase on the bed. She froze when she saw the suitcase. James, what are you doing? Her voice cracked in the middle of the sentence. I didn't stand up right away. I let her see it. All of it. The clothes, the decision, the finality. I'm packing, I said simply. Her face drained of color. Why? Wait. James, wait, please just talk to me. I've been talking, I said. For a long time. She stepped closer, still holding the towel with one hand, drops of water sliding down her shoulders. But, James, this is too fast. We can fix this. We just need time. No, I said softly. You need time. I needed clarity. And I got it. She stood there, trembling, like she couldn't decide whether to run to me or away from the truth. Please don't do this, she whispered. We just had a bad night. I messed up. I know I did. You don't have to leave. I finally stood up, not aggressively, just to meet her eye level. I'm not leaving because you danced with him, Emily. She blinked hard, eyes finally filling. Then why? Because last night, I said quietly, I saw a part of you that still belongs somewhere else, and I shouldn't have to compete with your past. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Words wouldn't come. They never do when someone realizes too late that the moment they thought was harmless wasn't harmless at all. I closed the suitcase. The zipper sounded final. She reached out, hand trembling. James, please, don't walk away from me. I took a step back before she touched me. Emily, I said, I'm done standing still while you face the wrong direction. She shook her head violently. No, No, this is not. You can't just leave. We can work through this. I hope you do work through it, I said gently, with yourself. Her eyes went wide, and for a split second I could see it. The realization that all the little things she brushed off as nothing had actually been everything. I walked toward the front door. She followed behind me in bare feet, voice breaking. James, please, don't go. I didn't mean anything I said. I don't even know what I meant. I turned at the doorway. She reached her hand out again, desperate this time. Just talk to me. Don't leave like this. Don't just go. I looked straight at her, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel small, or insecure, or competing with ghosts. You told Jenna he's the kind of man you'd follow without thinking, I said calmly. And yesterday, you did. Her hand slowly fell. My voice stayed steady. I'm not going to spend my life being your second thought. Emily's breath broke into a sob, but I didn't let it pull me back in. I opened the door, and before stepping out, I gave her the last thing I needed to say. Quiet, calm, simple. You don't owe me love, Emily, but I owe myself peace. She stood there trembling, fighting tears, staring at the space I was leaving behind, and I walked out, not slamming the door. Not running, just stepping into a future where I wasn't a placeholder. She watched me go, exactly Cacti Hotel, unable to stop it. And for the first time since the wedding, I felt free. It's been a few weeks. People always say time heals things. But honestly, time didn't heal anything. It just made the truth quieter, easier to hold without shaking. Emily reached out a few times, a long message, 2 missed calls, a voicemail I never opened. Not because I hate her. I don't. I never did. I just finally understood that loving someone isn't the same thing as being loved back the same way. I'm staying with a friend for now. It's not glamorous, mismatched furniture, a couch that squeaks if you breathe wrong, but it feels peaceful, calmer than our house felt in years. And strangely, I'm laughing more. Small things, dumb jokes, late-night pizza, just breathing again. I don't know what Emily will do next. I don't know what I'll do either. But for the first time in a long time, the future doesn't feel like something I'm chasing to keep up with someone else's past. It feels like mine, and that's enough. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.